A major pattern change is on the way as we move into the month of March, and this change is going to bring a lot of moisture to areas of the country and the return of severe weather and big time warm weather for areas of the country also. We're going to discuss it all, but right at the beginning of the video, I do want to dive into a winter storm risk for areas of the country, and this one's kind of tricky. It's kind of right at the end of a pattern and right when we introduce that new pattern that I just mentioned. So we need to talk about that first because it's closer to us, and then after that we'll dive into everything else. My name is Mitch. Good Friday morning. Hope you guys are doing awesome. I've had a wonderful week so far as we're about to enter a new weekend. Thank God for that, right? Subscribe if you haven't, like the video if you like it, and if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So let's go over that winter storm potential. And we're going to start off for Sunday evening for the middle of the country and then quickly move into the eastern areas of the country. We do have some winter weather breaking out across northern Missouri, Iowa, section here, maybe as far south as Kansas City of Kansas. And as we move forward and we get into the overnight hours of Sunday night and Monday morning, we could have an increase of moisture into some of this cold air that is in place. Not a whole lot of it, but there is enough for some of this moisture to be in the form of winter weather. And we have this area of snow breaking out across the Midwest, Illinois, Iowa. We could get a little bit of snow up into Chicago. We'll have to watch. But the system tries to produce a swath of moderate snowfall accumulation. Like I said, I don't think this is going to be a huge event, but it is something we have to watch, especially as it moves east. Things could get a little bit more tricky, but that begins to exit our screen, and we do need to watch kind of another push of moisture. But I think the cold air starts to move to the north, and I think there is a chance that we get snow kind of late Sunday into Monday across the Midwest, and then it turns around and rains on top of that snow like 24 hours later. So there's definitely a chance at that. But we go on and switch this to the eastern U.S., and we'll start off a late Sunday night and a Monday morning. Here's the snow starting to move across the Midwest, the Ohio Valley, and this does show a band of moderate snow across like Indianapolis, starting to move into Ohio. Is it going to be cold enough for any winter weather for Kentucky? Well, on the Euro, if it is, it's just going to be nasty freezing rain, which is indicated in the pink. The orange is sleet, blue is snow. But as we continue to move this into the eastern U.S., things get a little bit more interesting, and some moisture tries to increase. Sort of just some back building of moisture. Another area of lower pressure tries to move in, but you still got this area of moisture here. So this is Monday evening, and we got a wintry mix, a little bit of snow, a little bit of sleet, freezing rain, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, right? And just a wintry mix Monday evening across the Mid-Atlantic and pretty much everybody in the Mid-Atlantic. And this kind of builds up. And then as this moisture from the west kind of moves into the cold air, kind of reinforces the moisture, right? We start to get a higher end winter weather event Tuesday morning, March the 3rd. And this is a solid icy mix for PA. It's snow where there's some better cold air at just more areas of the atmosphere. And this builds up and it starts off as a thumping of snow for New England, getting into southern New England, even New York City. And then for a lot of these areas, it switches to ice, but it remains snow for like the upper portions of New England. Actually tries to switch to rain as far north as Boston eventually. But this is getting into Tuesday evening, and we got a moderate snow event. Nothing crazy for you guys' standards, but something to watch for sure. So, and then we just begin our very active pattern about midway next work week. Now the GFS, a little bit more aggressive with the moisture, and here it comes. And kind of in the same area as the Euro Monday evening, wintry mix across where Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, Kansas come together. And this is just suppressed a little bit further south. The GFS likes the idea of this being colder, and the entire system, like I said, just a little bit further to the south. So it has snow well south of Chicago. It doesn't bring anything for you guys. And all the way down to St. Louis, southern areas of Illinois, Indiana, and then the system moves away. And then we'll have kind of that reinforcing blossoming of moisture that moves in, but the cold air gets pushed to the north. And this starts to bring some snow all the way up to Minneapolis, Wisconsin, and eventually up into the UP and Michigan areas of lower Michigan. Sorry, I'm scratching my nose. Got a little bit of a nose itch there. And then we look at the GFS for the eastern U.S. It's definitely more interesting for areas further to the south. We get into Monday morning. Has some snow across southern areas of Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. Even a solid wintry mix into northern sections of Kentucky. Then Monday midday, we have kind of a mini winter storm that breaks out across the mid-Atlantic, the central apps. I mean, snow across West Virginia. We kind of have a little bit of a cold air damming situation setting up. In fact, I wouldn't say a little bit. I mean, it's just a flat out cold air damming look here. And we actually have sleet, a wintry mix breaking out as far south as northern North Carolina. And we continue, and this is a solid hit of snow for Virginia, West Virginia, even getting into the Delmarva. The Tidewater, and a wintry mix to the south. And then this kind of reinforcing blossoming of moisture shows up, and there's still enough cold air in place. And this is kind of early Tuesday morning, and we got freezing rain as far south as central North Carolina. And ongoing, I would say this is a long duration event for Virginia if this is the way it plays out. And then everything begins to build north as that ridge begins to dramatically flex from the south. And we get snow up in the D.C., and then winter weather moves all the way up into New York City, Baltimore, Philadelphia. It actually switches to rain in D.C. as we're getting into Tuesday evening. And the same thing unfolds in the GFS than what the Euro does is, the entire setup just becomes much warmer very, very quickly. And we'll explain why that happens a little bit later here. And then we have a big push of moisture again later in the week, and this is mainly rain. You got to get pretty far north up to the U.S.-Canadian border. But we look at the Euro AI, and we'll start the same thing off Sunday evening, and we get into our Monday morning. And I mean, we do have a quick hitting winter weather event, whether you want to call this a winter storm or not. I don't think it matters too much, honestly. But you got this cold high pressure positioned pretty well. How strong is it going to be? We'll have to see. But it's in place enough to make some of this moisture frozen precipitation as far south as the Mid-Atlantic. It's a solid hit up into Maryland, southern areas of PA, and then this kind of gets suppressed southward, and then you kind of have the reinforcing shot of moisture that moves in Tuesday and Wednesday, and this brings a wintry mix in the purple and the orange and snow in the blue across areas of the Northeast. So there's definitely something there. This could uptrend, but to me, to wrap that up, it looks like you're going to have kind of one push of moisture, then a second one right behind it. But the first push of moisture will be working with better cold air. The second push of moisture into early next week will be lacking cold air. So as far as how much snow we can get from this is just a Euro operational run. Make sure we got the right run here. And I knew it was from 18Z. So we'll look at this. And in fact, I think we have the new run here. Yeah, so this is the new run of the Euro, actually. So shows a swath of, it shows a little bit of snow. I'm not even going to show it because it's not a lot, but a little bit of snow right here where, Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska come together, a couple inches of snow, but it does deliver a few inches of snow through the Midwest, a couple inches of snow for Indianapolis, and then it kind of peters apart here in the Mid-Atlantic and then shows that reinforcing kind of blossoming of moisture up here in the cold air. It delivers a few to several inches of snow. It's not a huge deal at all. Now, the GFS is different. It delivers several inches of snow. In fact, I'll show you the central U.S. first. Several inches of snow kind of around Kansas City points north and kind of Lincoln points south, right through this area. Get some snow all the way down to Columbia, Missouri. I wish it was Columbia, South Carolina, but St. Louis, and kind of delivers a very small slither of snow through southern sections of Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, northern Kentucky. But then it's a bigger event for the Mid-Atlantic. And I'm not buying this right now, but I think it's worth showing it just because the GFS just won the storm with a blizzard several days ago. But, it shows the first push of moisture, several inches of snow, over a half a foot in Virginia and surrounding states. And then the blossoming of the second round, which rides up into the Northeast and delivers several inches of snow, maybe some sleet, freezing rain with that. So what about the Euro AI? And we probably have the new run, so we'll see what it shows here. And this is in 24-hour periods. And here it goes, just a very kind of small band of snow of a few inches here. This gets all the way into the Mid-Atlantic, though. Northern areas of Virginia gets a few inches of snow. West Virginia even delivers a couple inches of snow for D.C. and gets into Delaware and tries to show that reinforcing shot here of an inch or two, but I mean, it's not a big deal. Overall, it doesn't look like a huge deal, but it's just something we need to watch because it could catch people by surprise. Now, this is I would call this the I signal. It's the blend of all models between now and the next week. And it does show that signal for a little bit of freezing rain in the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic. So we'll watch that. And, there is a signal here across the Midwest and the Great Lakes region. We'll watch that also. This is the chance to see probability of exceeding a 1/4 inch liquid equivalent of snow and sleet. And this is for Monday morning to Tuesday morning. So there is a 10 to 30% chance that in this area, this includes Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Philadelphia. Hopefully you can see this pretty well. Pittsburgh, down to Charleston, West Virginia. So there is a chance for some solid winter weather in this area, and then it increases, becomes more widespread once we move into Tuesday morning into Wednesday morning. This is basically the chance to see 2.5 inches of snow, sleet. Okay, so once you get in that dark green area, I mean, that's a 30 to 50% chance. So there is definitely a signal being indicated by the Weather Prediction Center of some winter weather. Now, moving forward here, and I think I got my panels mixed up. Let's move here. Moving forward here, let's talk about this active weather upcoming. Now, I wouldn't get so lost in the low pressure placements on this because I know this is kind of, I wouldn't say blurry on your screen, but I wish they could make a black kind of outline on this for us to see this better. But I might find another site that I can show you guys. I love Pivotal Weather, but sometimes it's just, everything just looks so fuzzy to me. But this is Wednesday morning. We're going to have that pattern change. It really begins midway next week. And I'm going to get this in motion. And what you're going to see here is you're going to see a lot of action in this region. So this is kind of splotches of green, yellow, and orange. It's a lot of thunderstorm activity as we're getting into our Wednesday. And we're moving forward here. And I think this system, there's going to be a low pressure here. There could be one here. It could be right over here. It could be multiple ones. And this is going to bring showers and storms as far north as maybe the Midwest as we're getting into our Wednesday night and Thursday. And then I think another low pressure is going to develop. And watch out for this one because this is Friday morning. This system immediately gets bogged down by a cold high on the Euro and delivers snow for the Northeast next Friday. And that's something to watch before the ridge really flexes across the eastern U.S. But here comes another low pressure. And I know this low is kind of, this L is bouncing around, but that's not going to be the way it happens. But it's just one operational run trying to figure out the placement of low pressure. But if you look right here, you see a lot of shower and storm activity next Friday and the Saturday. And the general theme is multiple low pressures, just in multiple rounds of showers and storms moving across the country. Here comes another big storm system, could be with us next weekend. That moves across, and then this is getting 10 days out. That turns into a big system, by the way. Here comes another system ejecting right there, and then here comes another one, and then here comes another one. And that looks like a big one right there. That's over 300 hours out there. So the general theme here is a lot of low pressures. And we're going in reverse now, by the way. That's not because low pressures are moving east to west. The general theme here is multiple rounds of thunderstorms, heavy rain, maybe a little bit of winter weather up top to the north is cutting across the country. And it looks like they're moving over the same general area, which is, I mean, I would say in this region right into here is just getting throttled with just a steady moist flow of precipitation in this area. So moving forward here, this is the Euro ensemble, makes up 51 members, throws them all together, creates a mean and our average for us between now and about mid-month. It's technically through March the 13th. And I mean, there is a 6-inch rainfall signal right down here near the Arklatex, and just, it looks like Arkansas, Missouri, Northeast Texas, Oklahoma, up into the Midwest is going to be in the heart of this flooding rain potential. I mean, that is a solid signal for a lot of rain. I don't think any of this will be snow. None of it. This will all just be rain from heavy rain and just thunderstorms. And then we look at the eastern U.S. It looks pretty rainy across these areas too. Now, this is accounting for what's happening right now. For example, it's pouring at my house right now. I wish it would stop because it's going to end up canceling our soccer games tomorrow. But, I mean, it's a pretty rainy look for the east, too. So, this is all backed up. You don't see this much, by the way. This is the risk of heavy precipitation between the 6th and the 12th of March. And there is a high risk in this area right here. The entire state of Arkansas is including this. You guys are always just right in the middle of the crazy weather. And then kind of this green dotted area right here, this is a moderate risk. Between the 6th and the 10th. This high risk is between the 6th and the 9th, and then we have a slight risk around that between the 6th and the 12th. I mean, there's just going to be a lot of rain in this area, and this is backed up by this other graphic, the 10-day precipitation outlook. And, I mean, the greener it gets, the higher the chance that you're going to get rainfall, that you're going to get above average precipitation. So, this is a very active pattern upcoming. And this active pattern, anytime you have low pressures just cutting across the middle of the country, you're going to rip up a lot of low-level moisture from the Gulf and from the just further to the south, to the north. So these are dew points. Once you get dew points in the 60s, that is an ingredient for severe weather, a thermodynamic for severe weather. So let me slow down here. Let me get a sip of water. So as we started off Tuesday, we're going to get these dew points. And this is the Euro ensemble, by the way, not just one operational run. You already got dew points rising to the 60s throughout Louisiana, all the way up into Arkansas, eastern Texas, just the western deep south. And as we begin to move into Wednesday, it remains the same. I think Wednesday could be a severe weather day. In fact, the Storm Prediction Center is already highlighting Wednesday. I'll show you that here in a second. And then you get into Thursday, and then you get into Friday. And what you'll notice is a more broader sector of moist air, dew points in the 60s. If you're wondering, what does that mean? Well, dew points in the 60s is when you can really start to feel the humidity outside. Dew points in the 70s, that's when you're like, okay, man, it is very, very humid. I mean, it feels like a sauna outside. A lot of people like to look at the humidity percentage to gauge how humid it is outside. Guys, stop doing that. Look at the dew points that are on your weather apps too. So we'll leave that for another day. But this is a huge sector a week from today of pretty moist air, which is an ingredient for severe weather. One of the first things you look at is what we call moisture return. And as we start to move into day 10, you know, things get a little bit more fuzzy because we get further out, but it looks like it begins to get flattened out a little bit. But I mean, for a multi-day period, we're going to have a big moisture return. Next thing you look at is kinematics. Is there a favorable wind pattern, favorable flow riding over this moist air? And a big way to determine that is, where are these little short waves going to be, these little surface lows to really enhance the flow over that moist sector? And we just don't know that exactly. We're starting to get a better handle on, like, midway next week, that there could be a low pressure cutting across this moist sector and just riding up that moist sector. But in general, what you look at here is the bigger picture, and I'm going to stop it right here. And that is a lot of flow moving over. This is 500 millibars, 18,000 feet up in the air. That is a lot of flow riding over the middle of the country. Okay? And this is going to be riding over what likely will be a moist sector through here, or maybe through here. So anytime you have the flow going like this and then going right across the country like this time of the year, really any time of the year, you're going to introduce the risk of severe weather, because this is most likely, if you look at these wind barbs here, this is pulling flow in from the south. And these little individual low pressures are probably pulling more flow in, more so from the south to the north. This is more so from the southwest to the northeast. But anyways, the flow is in general coming out the south. That's pulling in that warm, moist air from the north, from the south to the north, okay? Creating overlapping ingredients for severe weather. I hope that makes sense. So you got the flow ripping over the country. Therefore, they've already introduced for Wednesday into Thursday, this is pretty much for Wednesday morning into Thursday morning, a 15% risk of severe weather for day 6. So this is basically a slight risk at day 6. So the Storm Prediction Center mentions the bigger threats being hail and damaging winds, but of course we're probably going to have a tornado threat with this too. But they're already highlighting an area, and I think this area is going to run the risk of flooding rains too, and we'll narrow down those corridors as we get closer. But, you know, it discusses Thursday onward also, and I really think we're going to continue to have severe weather chances really starting next Tuesday and Wednesday onward, honestly, guys. So, and this is all because of, and I'm not going to move. This is between day 7 and day 12, so from March the 5th through March the 10th. And the pattern is going to be like this. We're going to have this ridge over the Pacific, this tall, well-positioned spiking ridge over the eastern U.S., and a trough digging down in between. And it's a pretty dramatic drop in the trough too. It's not kind of long and strung out like this. Not strung out, long and kind of broad, right? So it's not a big trough. It's kind of a dramatically dipping trough with a dramatically spiking ridge. So these low pressures are going to kind of ride down this trough, right? And then kind of dramatically spike that way. And if this ridge is a little bit more that way, then these low pressures will kind of move a little bit further that way, because the the axis of the ridge, depending on where it is, that kind of tells us where these low pressures are going to move, because these low pressures, for the most part, aren't just going to plow right into that ridge. They kind of have to ride on top of it like that. So that is why all this energy, all these little short waves, these low pressures are just going to cut across the country. We don't know the exact position of this ridge on any given time frame, but we know that there is going to be a pretty broad, large, just a massive ridge over the eastern U.S., and this is going to spike pretty high, okay? In the beginning of the pattern, the low pressures could kind of go like this, could get a little bit of cold air from the colder region up here, but we'll watch all that as it goes. But this ridge right here is going to create a pattern that supports a lot of warm air, and this is in 5-day periods. So this is starting pretty much right now through midway next week. Okay, the averaged out 5-day period is going to bring above average temperatures across the southern tier of the country. You're going to hang on to below average temperatures for the northeast. But then watch as we begin to move into the 2nd to the 7th, and then we get several days into March, and the pattern is going to support not only above average temperatures, but well above average temperatures as we get about a week into March. And this is going to create a big time fall, big time snow melt with this. And this is backed up by the Climate Prediction Center, 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, the 4th through the 8th. Basically, if you live in these, the entire country is going for above average temperatures except Alaska. And I mean, this continues to go even into the 8 to 14 day outlook, runs all the way from the 6th through the 12th. And I mean, there is high confidence in above average temperatures across the east. So the pollen is about to go into overdrive. It's about to get wild with that. But anyways, I don't have a daily forecast today. I got to go volunteer at the school. And so I kind of have to jump off here really fast, and I'm running behind this morning. So I apologize for that. But that's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all, and have a wonderful Friday.